Skinny Hardaway, Southern T, back with another EP. Y'all do your boy a favor, y'all smash that thumbs up for your boy when you roll on in. Whether you're here for a good time or a long time, I greatly appreciate you sliding through. If it's your first time, do your boy solid. Don't make it your last time. Hit that subscription button there as well. We talk this good boxing, MMA, sports, parlays, predictions every single day, and not just today. Today, we're here with a basketball EP, right? A WNBA basketball EP, right? We got one WNBA game today, sadly, right? We had about six of them yesterday, right? I swept the field yesterday, right? I put one in my shorts, right? I dropped the other ones in the Discord, right? We swept the WNBA day yesterday. All right, I only got one game today, right? So we looking to hit the nail on the head with this, right? We got Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese, right? Now I know that the W don't get quite the same love that the NBA get, right? And it's understandable, right? It's understandable, right? But this is a big game, big prime time game, right? We got two of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, right? Two rivals in the East, two of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. Historically, these two teams, right, are enemies, right? So this is going to be one of the budding rivals. I think that's going to continue for a long time, given how young given how young, that the key players, the key pieces in this rivalry is now. Now you come and you add Angel Reese to the rivalry on top of her, frenemy, her rival, Kevin Clark being on the Indiana Fever. This, heated series between these two, this historically heated series right between these two just got even deeper. Right. This will be the second game that these two face off against one another, right? The first game, the Fever did win. The Fever won at home in the first game between these two. All right. I think it was like 93-81. The game was closer, right, than the final score indicated, right? The game was closer than the final score indicated, right? In the first one, they kind of stretched their lead out, not even the start of the fourth, like the middle of the fourth. Defensive, it was a defensive game, right? The kind of game that the Atlanta Dream will want, right? The Atlanta Dream is a team that hangs their hat on the defensive end, right? They have scores, but they're probably they're the best or the top three defensive team in the league, right? They're floating between that one and that three, right? So they're one of the top defensive teams in the league. Surprisingly, ironically, so is the Fever. The Fever is ranked number 10 defensive team, right? So just to give the Fever a little credit, they're better on defense, right, than teams would think. Atlanta Dream are really good at slowing down the other team's offense. You got one of the faster playing teams in the league in the Fever versus one of the best defensive teams in the league in the Atlanta Dream, right? So there's a clash at that. The Dream was able to slow down the scoring in the last game against the Fever, but they weren't able to score enough points themselves, right? If you look at the box score, if you look at how the game went, right, Alicia Gray, she ended with a nice number, right? But she didn't have her most efficient game. Ren Howard didn't have her most efficient game. Angel Reese was actually super efficient in that first game, right? But the starters did not have their most efficient game scoring. Now it was a close game, nip and took until the final, buzzer, right? But the Dream didn't play their best game offensively. Fever played pretty good, offensive. They played a pretty good game at the house, right? Exciting game in the first one that the Fever ended up pulling off, right? So I saw some things that I liked from that game. Both teams, right, have 9 wins right now. If I'm not mistaken, the Fever are 9-5, and the Dream are 9-4, right? So again, two of the top teams in WNBA, two of the top teams in the East. Rivalry game coming out of the East. Two big superstar names and also a great supporting cast around these two superstars, right? You got Aaliyah Boston in this game. You got Kelsey Mitchell in this game. You got Alicia Gray in this game. You got Ren Howard in this game. You got Jordan Canada in this game, right? So this is going to be one of the better WNBA regular season games, of the year. If you saw the first one, you know exactly what I mean. Right. So I just basically told you I broke down the history for y'all, right? I broke down what happened in the last game between these two for y'all. I gave y'all, the season implications, right? Same division, right? So this game is going to mean something because you very well could see this team in the playoffs like they did last year, right? These two teams faced off against one another in the playoffs. Now, Angel Reese wasn't on the Atlanta Dream squad then, right? But these two teams did face off in the playoffs last year, right? So this is a playoff rematch as well. So London Dream got put out the playoffs by this team, and they also lost in the last game to this team, right? So that London Dream are going to want to get some get back in this game, right? So moving on along, let's get into the game today, right? This is going to be shown on Prime. The Atlanta Dream are going to be at the house this time, right? The first game was played on the road. The Indiana Fever got the win. This game is going to be played. The first game was played in Indiana, right? At home. The Fever got the win. This game is going to be played in Atlanta. All right. So the Atlanta Dream will have the home court advantage in this game. Actually, I lied. This game is also going to be in Indiana, right? So the Dream is going back to Indiana. The Dream don't the Dream really don't do well in Indiana, right? In the playoffs last year, I think the Fever just won their home games, right? And the Dream weren't able to get one on the road. And the Dream weren't able to get one on the road. I didn't realize that the whole time I'm thinking that the Atlanta Dream was going to be at the crib this time because the Fever was at the crib last time. And that's absolutely not the case. So the Indiana Fever, right, are going to be at the crib once again, right? So the Fever have the home court advantage in this matchup, not the Atlanta Dream. So let me see what happens. Let me see what was the Dream at home the last time these two teams played. The Fever getting two straight home games. Are they going to do two home games, or something like that? Let's see. So the Indiana Fever, yep. So yeah, two home games. Yep. So Indiana's going to play their two home games first, and then the Fever going to play their two home games. I thought they was going to split it up, but they're not. Yep. So this game is actually going to be played in Indiana, right? So that does changes things a little bit for your boy, right? But I digress. You got the Indiana Fever, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? You got the Indiana Fever. They're on a 4-game winning streak, right? The last time the Indiana Fever lost, it was to the New York Liberty, in which they lost 83-75, right? They beat Washington, Chicago Sky, the Connecticut Suns, and the Toronto Temple right now. None of those teams are setting the league on fire, right? Washington Mystics right now are one of the worst teams in the league. Shout out Averlato. Right, they're one of the worst team leagues right now. Angel Reese's former team, the Chicago Sky, they're one of the worst teams in the league right now, right? You got the Connecticut Sun, who I always want to call the Phoenix Sun, uh, right? But the Phoenix are the Mercury, right? Connecticut are the Suns, but I digress, right? You got the Connecticut Suns, one of the worst teams in the league, right? The Indiana Fever beat them. And you got the Toronto Tempo, who aren't one of the worst teams in the league, but they lost probably their best player in the first quarter of their game, right? So the Fever were able to come out of with that win as well. Not saying they wouldn't have won it without Brittany Sykes getting hurt, but Brittany Sykes did indeed get hurt in that game, right? So the Fever have won 4 in a row, but it's not like they have beaten, the best competition in the league to get to that 4 in a row, right? Then you got the Atlanta Dream, who's also beating the Toronto Tempo in their last game, right? So both teams are coming off a win over the Toronto Tempo, right? If you care about that kind of thing. The Atlanta Dream also lost to the New York Liberty, right? They also beat the Chicago Sky. and the Washington Mystics, right? So these teams have played pretty much the same teams, right? Just about the same teams. Both of them beat Toronto. They both lost to New York. They both beat Washington and Chicago. And the Atlanta Dream lost to the Fever. They played the Fever on the 4th of this month, right? So it wasn't that long ago that these two teams met, right? So this is a bit of a turnaround, right? This is a bit of a turnaround. They're still on the road. They played here once, but historically, right? I gave a little historical lesson earlier. Historically, right? The Atlanta Dream doesn't play well. Right, the Atlanta Dream doesn't play well in Indiana. Now, I'm one of the people who said as soon as Angel Reese got to this team, I said that's exactly what we need. Cooking, I was cooking too hard, man. I was cooking too hard. Sound check. We finna sound check. Chicago Cheetah. Shout out my guy, Chicago Cheetah. Chicago Cheetah. Can you do me a favor, my brother? Could you hit that thumbs up for your boy when you roll on in, man? And also, man, could you subscribe to the channel if you haven't? On in, man, and also, man, could you subscribe to the channel? Okay, bet. Could you subscribe to the channel if you haven't, my brother? Greatly appreciate you sliding through. He said this should be a great game. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It should, my brother. It should, man. I'm excited about it. I ain't gonna lie, I'm excited about it. It's the only WNBA game tonight, too. I'm excited about it. I think they made it standalone on it for a reason, right? So I want to make sure that everybody is alert. I'm doing my due diligence, right? We still got basketball. It ain't NBA, right? But we still got good basketball, right? You know what I mean? Going on. I still got some good ball going on. But yeah, man, what I was saying was, yeah, historically the Dream don't play well, right? In Indiana, right? Historically, like the Dream doesn't necessarily play well in Indiana. When I didn't even bother right to look at like who was at home and who was away because I had knew the Fever played the first game at home, right? So I'm like, okay, the Dream gonna be at home for this, but the Fever actually gonna be at home. But I was what I was saying was like as soon as Angel Reese got traded to the Dream, I was like, that's exactly what the Dream needed, right? The Dream needed that anchor in the inside. They needed that big man or that big woman, right, in the inside, that dominant force in the inside, right, to hold down the paint because they have elite scoring in Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard. They have elite scoring already. They just needed that presence in the post. And then you had they were a match made in heaven, right? And then you had Angel Reese over there in Chicago, right? Over there in Chicago, just struggling, right? Not her struggling personally, right? But the team as a whole, just struggling, to maintain, to even be one of the worst teams, right? They were literally like almost the worst team, in the league. Angel Reese is a double machine. She's a dominant player. And then when you put her over here in Chicago, when you take her out of Chicago, right, who asked her to do a whole lot, right, you know what I mean? Then you put her over here in Atlanta with the Dream. Her load isn't as heavy over here in Atlanta as it was in Chicago because she's playing with a great player in Alicia Gray. She's playing with a great player in Ryan Howard. DS was good, DS, right? So you're not asking her to do as much, right? You're not asking her to shoulder as much as a load. Here, you're asking her to be her natural self to do what she do best. When she can score her points, she score her points. She's averaging double figures this year. She's averaging around 15 points this year, right? Too, you know what I mean? So it's not like, her scoring, has fell off. She's actually around still of what she was averaging in Chicago. Right. So she's around that 15 points mark, that 10 rebound mark, right? So both of these teams, basically what I'm saying, are on the up and up. You got Kelsey Mitchell for the Fever playing out of her mind right now, right? Now, again, the Fever are on a 4-game win streak. It's not the 4 best teams in the W, right? But a 4-game win streak is a 4-game win streak, right? You got the Atlanta Dream not doing too bad, their self as well, right? Like I was saying, they pretty much played the same schedule, right? The Fever, the Atlanta Dream last 5 games, they lost to the Fever and they lost to the New York Liberty, right? The Indiana Fever last 5 games, they won 4 in a row and they lost to the New York Liberty, right? They both beat the Toronto Tempo in their last game, right? Now, the Indiana Fever are an interesting team because when they're on, they can drop 100 on your head. They can drop 100 on your head, right? But when they're, when their shots aren't falling or their trap ball isn't falling, right, then it gets a little more difficult for them. But they are a good defensive team as well, right? So they can tip their hat on both, right? Being able to score the rock and being able to defend, kind of just like the Atlanta Dream, which is why I like this matchup because these teams match up really, really well across the board, player for player, position for position, right? When you get into it, this is kind of like some San Antonio Spurs, New York Knicks shit, right? Going on right now, right? With position for position, player for player. But it's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a good game. Now tonight, I'm more inclined to rock with the props, right? But y'all know I'm going to give y'all a winner. I'm going to pick a winner. If this game, if this game was played in Atlanta, y'all, I had the dream. But because it's gonna be played in Indiana, I'm going to challenge the dream, and I'm going to take the Fever to win on the money line. One thing I know about the Fever is they play up and they play down to their competition. They kind of been rolling as of late. So has the Atlanta Dream, right? So this is going to be the battle, right, of 2 of the best teams I think in the league, right? The best teams in the league, right? You probably got the Aces, you got the Aces, right? You got the Lynx, right? And then you got Aces, you got Lynx, right? And then you got what's that other team? Then you got the Liberty, right? You got the Liberty, you got the Aces, you got the Lynx, right? And then I think the next best teams in the league after those teams, right, will probably be the Fever and will probably be the Dream. Shout out my guy Chicago Cheetah. Shout out my guy Chicago Cheetah. Chicago said he got the Dream. I ain't mad at you, Chicago. I ain't mad at you. But again, Chicago, like I told Chicago, I'm not betting the game, right? I'm not betting the game. You see that prop parlay I got in there? That's what I'm a bet. Right. So I ain't mad at you taking the dream again. I'm not betting again. I'm just picking a side. I'm telling you what I think. Because it's a road game, I'm gonna go with the Fever. Right. But I hope I'm wrong, right? I'm challenging the dream. I hope the dream step up and I hope the dream win this game. And I also think it go under that 173, right? Because I think it's gonna be more of a defensive game. Do both of these teams get around to 80? I think the game could end up around like maybe 85 to 80, maybe 72. You know what I mean? 72, 83, or something like that, right? Because these are two good defensive teams, right? So I think there is going to be some defense played. Now, if it's close enough and they go into overtime, then that could get tricky, right? But I think it goes under, right? But again, what I'm going to bet is that prop parlay, right? Y'all see floating across the bottom of the screen, right? Caitlin Clark, 15. Kelsey Mitchell to make 2 threes. Aaliyah Boston, 12. Alyssa Gray, 15 points. And Angel Reese, 10 rebounds. They get you to plus 255. That's what I'm going to play, right? But if you're making me pick a side, I would say the Fever, right? But I'm not going to bet that. I will bet the under, right, before I bet, on the Fever, right? But the Fever are rolling right now. You know what I mean? So them being at home, I'm just leaning towards the Fever because they're the home team. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. When this EP started, I had the dream on the money line because I thought the dream was at the crib. But once I realized the Fever was at the crib, I switched to the Fever. You know what I mean? So if the dream was at the crib, I most definitely would have took the dream today. But I'm gonna just roll with the home team, right? And I'm gonna take the Fever, right? But I hope I'm wrong about that as far as the winner go. But I will be playing those props that y'all see in there. And I gave y'all two more props that I like Ray Howard to make 2 threes and Rand Howard, you know what I mean, for 12 points, right? I think she'll get that done as well. But Clark 15, Kelsey Mitchell 2 3-pointers, Leo Boston 12, Lissa Gray 15, and Angel Reese to get 10 boards. You want to go Angel Reese double double? You can. Angel Reese did have a double double in that last game that they played. Angel Reese did have a double double in the last game that they played, right? So if y'all want to play that game, we can do that. But shout out my guy Chicago Cheetah, my guy Overskill. My guy Overskill said the Aces gonna repeat. You think so? I ain't mad at that either, man. I ain't mad at the Aces repeating that. They very well could, man. The Aces are a real dynasty, right? A lot of people didn't necessarily, have the Aces winning the championship last year. You know what I mean? A lot of people didn't necessarily have the Aces winning the championship. You know what I mean? Last year, and they ended up winning, right? And I say this too about anybody that's taking Atlanta. Most of the money is on the Fever, and the line is at even money still, right? So they tell you that the books think that the Fever are going to win, so they letting the books may think that the Dream are going to win, right? Because they're letting people bet the Fever, and the line is still even, right? So Vegas thinks that the Dream are going to beat them today. You know what I mean? So that's just for that tad bit, right? So anybody that's on the Dream, I ain't mad at you. Again, I'm not betting the game. I'm gonna bet my prop bet, and I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna enjoy the game. Right. The reason that I took mostly the Fever players, right, is because I want to add some bad juju to them. But I ain't gonna lie to you. Every time the Fever play, I take the same bets. Every time the Dream play, I take the same bets, right, and the hit, right. I don't bet with my heart. I bet with my pocket. You know what I mean? And these bets have been good to my pockets. You know what I mean? So those the ones that I'm taking. If you want to drop one or something like that, you can because you're at plus 225, right? So you can drop one and still be at plus money or something like that, right? If you don't feel as comfortable with, you can drop any of those and you will be anywhere from plus 125 up to like plus 225, right? So those jumps are interchangeable. If you only want to do a three, you only want to do three of them, you can only do three of them, right? If you want to do two of them, you can still get yourself to plus money just doing two of them, depending on what combination that you use. You know what I mean with those. Kelsey Mitchell 2 3-pointers is the value in it. Hers is at minus 207, right? The one that I gave out the other day, everything hit on it except for Caitlin Clark 2 3-pointers, right? If I had to take Kelsey Mitchell 2 3-pointers, she would have hit that. Right, you know what I mean? I mean, we would have hit that one. Right, you know what I mean? So we go take Kelsey today. Kelsey is like the last 10 games, she like 80%. She like 80%, making them 3-pointers, right? Caitlin Clark can struggle up and get you 15. Alicia Gray had 13 points in the last time that they played the Fever, right? She had only had 13 points. She went 5 for 18. I'm expecting her to shoot better than 5 for 18 today and be able to get those extra 2 points, right? And put us up to that 15, right? She averages 20. You know what I mean? Type deal. Leah Boston had like around 20 the last time that they played, right? She hit her mark. You know what I mean? She's had over and above 12 points each of her last 5 games. If you go in 10 game stretch, she's had it 90% in 9 games, right? So all of those props check out, you know. And if you just want to take, you know, if you just want to take one thing from the night, just give you one bet, I say just run with that under, man. It's a lot of money coming in on that under. Right. I think these teams again, both of these teams are top 10 in defense, right? So it's either going to be both of these teams, you know, score a little less, or one team score a little less. But I think either way that this game goes under. The first game that they played went under, right? It isn't the first game, but it is still in the Indiana. Right, I am expecting the Dream to play a little better. I'm expecting it to be around 80, right? I'm expecting it to be. I'm expecting the high team in the score to be around mid to high 80s, and the low man in the score to be around low 80s, high 70s. Right, that's around what I'm expecting for their under to come through for us in that. Right, but what I'm mostly invested in, right, is my prop bet because I think that these teams go get off. Maybe you want to take Caitlin Clark for 20, right? Or maybe you want to take Kelsey Mitchell for 20, right? Because Kelsey Mitchell be going off. That's why, you know, I normally take Kelsey Mitchell 15 points, but I'm gonna do the 2 3 pointers this time because it's better value. Right. I was looking for something to get us over to that plus because Kelsey Mitchell 15 points like minus 400, and that was like minus. That was like minus 105 or something. You know what I mean? So I said I'm gonna roll with Kelsey Mitchell 2 3 points because she the step back queen. Like she gonna make them two trades, right? She done done it. She done done it many of games this year. You know what I mean? She was one of the best scorers in the league, if not the best scorer in the league. She led the team in scoring last year, right? Her and Caitlin Clark are neck and neck for leading scorer on the team this year. I think they separated by like maybe point 0.4 points or something like that, right? So I'm mostly invested in those props right there. Also, if you within the sound of my voice, my MLB home runs. Buxton, Soto, Langeliers. Buxton number one, Soto number two, Langeliers number three. Right. But those my favorite home runs. So man, we go skedaddle up out of here at the 30-minute mark. If anybody got any questions, man, feel free to ask them. Again, I'm not betting on the side pick in this game. I'm really hoping that the Dream win. But because the Fever at home, I'm gonna go with the Fever. I think both teams win both home games in this 4 game series during the year. All right. But so I'm not gonna bet a side or a winner or a loser. Cause deep down I want the Dream to win. I'm just thinking that the Fever is gonna win. Uh right. But I'm more invested in my prop picks, right? So those props that you see down there that plus 225, that's more so what I'm invested in tonight. Uh, and then again, if you want to drop one of them or drop two of them, you can. They'll still get you to where you need to go, right? I'm afraid of the side pick tonight, right? I'm afraid of the money line pick tonight again, so I'm not gonna bet it, right? I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna enjoy the game, and I'm gonna take my props and hope everybody ball out, right? I'm gonna do my prop pick, right, and then I'm gonna hope that the Fever go under and the Dream get a win. No, I'm just playing, but you know, I think if the Fever are going to win, then most definitely you know, those props right there gonna have to come through. They all came through last time, right? So everything you see on the Fever side came through last time. Angel Reese got her 10 rebounds last time. The only thing that didn't happen last time was Alicia Granger scored 15 points, and she had 13 points last time, right? But she shot 5 for 18. So I'm expecting her to shoot better than 5 for 18 this game, right? And get to that 15, right? And I will be live for the game tonight. I'm trying to, right? At least in my mind, right? I'm playing it to be live for the game tonight because this is a big game. I do want to watch it. Think it's gonna be a well worth the watch, right? So that's how we rocking tonight. Clark 15, Cassie Mitchell 2 3 pointers, Aaliyah Boston 12 points, Alicia Gray 15 points, Andrew Reese 10 boards. That's at plus 225. That's the play tonight. That's how we're rocking. And if you want to get even more value on it, you could throw Ren Howard 12 points, 2 3 pointers in there as well as the add-on. And if you're telling me T, give me a side pick, give me an over or under, I would say take the under 173.5 or whatever the under may be. If it go down to like 170, if it go down to like 171, 170 and shit like that, don't take. But if it go up 174, 175, take it, right? But the under would be the side bet that I would be on if you're making me say, I need, a single for a side, right? But play that prop bet, right? If you're making me tell you, play that under. Appreciate you sliding through. Skin Hardaway 7T. This ain't the past. This ain't the future. This the present. That's how we rocking. And I'm out. Love. Make sure you subscribe. Tell a friend. Tell a friend.